Hi everyone, we are the Engineers Against Hearing Loss, a MATLAB team comprised of a student-led initiative which focuses on hearing loss and noise pollution. And our focus really is today to make a project, a coding project specifically, that tries to tackle these problems within our community, from citizens to businesses to employees alike. And we really hope you enjoy this portrayal of our initiative. So to begin, we want to introduce our team. Our team consists of four great gentlemen, and we'll start introducing them. So my name is Amit Sapir, and I am a biomedical engineer.
I'm Gavin Ragona, and I'm a civil engineer.
I'm Jamar Ivy, and I'm a mechanical engineer.
My name is Maxwell Help-Fellner, and I'm an aerospace engineer.
So thank you for the team, and now we'll move on to the problem.
Yeah, so the problem that we're trying to tackle is noise pollution. It's something that's very overlooked, especially today. Over 360 million people have suffered some form of hearing loss due to noise pollution. And nearly 50% of people between the ages of 12 and 35 experience some unsafe level of noise pollution or hearing loss. Noise pollution can lead to partial and or complete loss of hearing, and it's mostly overlooked by a lot of other environmental issues today.
So many people are actually unaware of whether they're experiencing dangerous levels of sound. And our environment is not designed to protect us from this noise pollution. So people don't take the necessary protective measurements to not have the noise pollution affect them. But our program is designed to let you become more aware about how you can do those things.
Our mission as a team is to prevent this impact of the noise pollution, make people aware, and make it a usable program for not just engineers, but for everyday people and medical professionals even.
And with that, we will begin showing you the code and all the functions that consist of it. So right now we will pull up the code. Okay, so to begin, Gavin will start us off.
So when you run the code, the first thing it does, it's going to introduce our team and all of our names. And we're going to go to the citation screen. And here you can see all of our citations pull up in the command window. And now we'll go back to the main code. You can exit the code at any time and this will work. And we will run the code now. So Jamar will go on with his part of this code.
Yeah, so the first part of the code is runs through the cost to soundproof your home or a particular room. So the first question it asks is for an estimated budget. So the user will enter a number, say 5,000. So that could be $5,000. Then they'll have to enter the dimensions of the room that they're trying to soundproof. So let's say it's a 10 by 10. So the height is 10 and the width is 10. This would be in feet. So once they've entered that, the program will give them 3 choices that are closest to their budget. And from those 3 choices, they will pick one of the 3. So I, the user right now, I'm gonna pick the American. So that's option 2. And once option 2 has been selected, the program will congratulate you on your choice and also leave a link to the website where the user can then go ahead and purchase those acoustic panels. And if you are satisfied with your choice, the user can continue. Otherwise, they can go back and once again select from one of the 3. Or if they wish to change their budget, they can go back to the start of it. But for right now, we're going to continue ahead. So the next part of the program is users can purchase some form of airware that's also helps with stopping noise pollution. So let's say we have a budget of $80 to purchase our airware. So they'll enter that number. And then we can either choose headphones, earbuds, or earplugs. There are many different ways you can combat noise pollution outside of the home. So we're gonna pick earbuds right now. So we enter the B. And from there, based on the earbuds that the program has compiled and the budget, it once again gives you the 3 best options, and the user can choose one of the 3. So we'll go with 1, the Google Pixel Buds. And then once again, you see here, it congratulates you. It says you've chosen. Let's say the user doesn't quite sure if they want the Google Pixel, so they can click 2. They can enter 2, back to selection. And then once again, they can change. So now I'm gonna go with 2, the Sony WH5. So that's the new one we're picking. And it'll say, congratulations, you've chosen. And you see we have the new website link to that one. And now that the user is satisfied, we're gonna go ahead and click continue.
So this is my portion of the code, and its purpose is to let the user know whether they're in a dangerous level or they've been exposed to a dangerous level of sound for a given amount of time. So for the first step here, it gives you several options on how you are exposed to the sound that you are exposed to. So we're just going to go ahead and select option A for power tools and heavy machinery. And so when you select A, it'll give you a few options. It'll also give you a small paragraph explaining the dangers of this noise level and the options. You choose an option, and we'll say we'll choose option 2 this time for 5 minutes. And there it'll tell you you're bordering the dangerous range for this decibel level. So now you can also have the option to go, if you type back and hit enter, you'll go back to the selection screen and you can make a new choice and go on to make a new time choice as well. Now you can hit E to exit and move on to the next part of the program.
In this part of the program, the user is gonna actually enter the decibel level they are listening at, and it will give them a risk factor. And if the user enters a negative number, so this is like -10, it will ask the user again because it needs a positive decibel level to work. And then if you enter a number that's too high, like for say like 250, the program knows that this range is too loud and not realistic. So it needs a decibel level that will actually be in an understandable range, like 90. The program will then give you your danger level. And at 90, it is a dangerous volume. It will tell you to lower it and give you the danger level that you're at, which is a 6 right now. And that is based on the chart above, where it gives you descriptions of various ranges and what sounds are harmful.
Okay, so for the next part of the program, I pretty much took Gavin's output and ensured to make it my input. So pretty much just from the graph that we just witnessed and the scale, that Gavin's function pretty much portrayed, you're going to pretty much take that, that decibel level score, again, somewhere in the spectrum from 1 to 10, and input it as your aforementioned input. So let's say if the danger level was 6, so we'll input 6. Now here comes another moment for the citations. Obviously, we have tons of research into this. So we specifically say that government research actually has a safe exposure limit of 8 decibels for 8 hours a day. And now pretty much what this function will do is try to mitigate the hearing loss for our clients or businesses or really truly our target audience. So pretty much there are 3 levels to this. There's first the commitment level, whether low, moderate, or high, just depending on the person. There are different tactic methods, from lowering your high volume exposure time to increasing distance to recovery time to even therapy or health services or medical professionals. And then finally, the quantitative action, the quantity of time you want to ensue and pursue this this mitigation. So it ranges from 1 to 2 hours to 3 to 5 hours to 6 to 8 hours to maybe even less than an hour a day or nothing at all. So we're going to input, let's say, a number like 2, which would be moderate. But before we do, we could show you that 4 is not a reasonable number, so you have to change again and continue onwards. So we'll continue with 2. Just to show you that the test cases work again, we'll just put a number like F. You have to start again from the beginning. So we have a commitment level of 2, let's say. We only have options of A, B, C, or D, so we will have to put in, let's say, B. And then we only have options of, if I'm not mistaken, from E to F to G to H to I. So we could put something like E. Okay, and then pretty much what will happen with that is it will give you a reduction in score, calculated according to research, obviously. And that reduction score for this case is 2.5. And pretty much it will take your aforementioned score from Gavin's function, reduce it to 2.5 based on the commitment you want to do, and spit out a new adjusted score of 3.5. So it could change depending on the person or whatever. And now we will continue with the next button to move on to the next feature, which is pretty much continuing on with the personal experience, the personal experience of the user, and pretty much trying to see what their statistics are actually looking like. We would be portraying this obviously with graphs and different functions like that. So it asks for the original decibel level that we received. Our original was 6. And now our new score, according to the program, was 3.5. And now with these 2 values, we will not only have the national averages for deafness rates or pretty much the first graph right here is going to have statistical input from national statistics regarding the spectrum of exposure that people have in decibels, obviously, and the y-axis is actually the time until deafness in years. So it ranges really from any time to any time. But what is actually interesting is the 2 graphs on the right, which is your old score and your new score. And as you guys could see, the slope actually changes depending on the commitment the user has in trying to reduce their hearing loss. And it's just a great graph to show the user the minimalistic efforts that they can make and try to reduce deafness or just hearing loss and awareness to noise pollution in general. So with that, we can continue back to start, and the whole function will start back up again, or we will continue to exit. So we could, again, back to start. Back to start brings us back to here with the run code and the citation screen and the exit. So we can continue to exit. And we thank you for the hearing loss mitigation calculator. And that is about it. Now we will actually explain our specific codes. So let us do that.
So the first code that it runs through is the menu code, where it just defines pretty much the buttons used throughout the program and what each one is going to say, the running the code citation screen and the exit buttons that appear, and then it will run through each step of the code. And then when the citation function is called, it will display the several citations that we've used and gone through in order to get the functions that we have all used and calculate numbers and the various graphs that you see, along with the button function at the bottom to continue on, back, or exit.
Okay, so for the soundproof cost function, as you can see, everything is in a while loop. It just starts off with inputs, functions. That's how the user gives us the values needed to make calculations. In line 14, you can see those are the panels that we used. Those values I obtained and put into MATLAB, and MATLAB used those values to determine which panels were best based off the user's budget. So very simply, you can see then we go to the second half where it's just calculating the area, which is 4 times wall height and wall width. P area we see here is area times 0.3. That number actually comes from the fact that most people, when soundproofing rooms, soundproof about 30% of the room. So only 30% of the room would be covered in acoustic panels. So we have a for loop there. That's for calculating the budget costs. So basically what happens there is we take the area and we multiply that by the cost of the panel, and then minus that by the budget cost. And whichever 3 have the smallest number, those are the ones closest to the user's budget, and those are the ones selected. So if we go to the next slide, at this point it's just more of the same, more while loops. You can see at line 61, the program is just picking which 3 were selected, and then it just spits out the values and the cost. That's when the user can see the 3 that they've chosen, and then the user will then later on the next side, you see they line 87, they input the one they chose, and then down at line 95, the code prints the congratulations and selected. And then on the next slide, you're just going to see a lot of links. So those are all the different links to the websites. So depending on which one was selected, the code will spit out the one that was chosen. And then finally on the last slide, we just have the different conditions for the while loops. So you see if fin is less than or equal to 3 or greater than or equal to 1, that's for the first input, so that if a number that isn't between 1 or 3 is inputted, then it's gonna ask the question again. And similarly, underneath you see the other while loops. These are all the checks to ensure that the user only inputs numbers that the code said that it could. And then lastly, you have the button function that allows us to move on to the next part of the code. And now moving on to the next program, next page, that's the continuation of the button function. So now we have the airware selection function. This function is essentially similar to the soundproof function. Everything is the same in the way it was written. You have all these values on the left, which were the different headphones, earbuds, and earplugs selected that the user can choose from. Then on the other side, you can see in line 45, the input function, and then the user can choose whether they want the headphones, the earbuds, or the earplugs. You can go to the next slide. Then we see, once again, another for loop. This one was a bit easier since we just did the absolute value of the budget cost minus the cost of whether it be a headphone, air plug, or earbud, and whichever had the smallest values. Those three were the ones that were chosen. And then similarly, the other for loop, you see that it locates which of the three were chosen, and then spits out the name of it and the cost. And then you can see there on the right side, that's where it was running through all the different earplugs and earbuds to find the right three that were chosen. Next page, please. And then down at the bottom, you can see once again, once you've selected, it congratulates you and runs through all the different ones to output the correct one you've chosen. And then next page. And then on this page, and I believe the page after, you can go ahead and slide to it. The code is just running through the different website links to give you the right one so that the user can go ahead and purchase the one that they've selected. Next page, please. And then that's, you see down at line 194 and 95, where it asks if the user is satisfied. And you see the three options. Then at line 200, that's where, once again, the error check-in with the if fin is less than or equal to 3, greater than or equal to 1. Next page, that's how we ensure that the users are only inputting values that the code recognizes. You can see that again, going from line 200 to 215. These are just more error checking. And then finally at line 219, that's once again the button function that allows us to move from the next function of the program.
So this is my means of exposure function of the program. You can see at the top, it's inside of a while loop. It's actually most of the program is nested inside of 2 while loops, just so that the user could go back to the start of the program and go through it again if wanted to. And so it displays your choices, and then it asks for an input on what your choice is. And then it takes, it shows you the corresponding information regarding what the noise level is and how dangerous it can be. And then based on your input, it shows you that and gives you an option of how long you've listened to this level of noise. You can, you see here, once you input your level of noise, it goes into several different if statements, which display a corresponding answer as to whether it's a safe level or a dangerous level or not. Next slide, if you would. Here is just more of the options. So C was for concerts, I believe. There it gives you the information for it, and also another input for how long it is, how long you were listening to that noise. And then you see if on line 97 on the right side, if X equals E, run equals 0 and run 2 equals 0, break, it kills both of the while loops and allows the user to go progress to the button function, which you could find on the next slide, I believe. Yeah, here, so it ends the while loops. There's more inputs for the time, and then finally at the end there's the button function that allows you to continue to the next portion of the program.
This is the danger level function, And this is based off various charts and data that was gathered from our research. And at the beginning, it asks the user to input the decibel level, and it will run through the various ranges that are possible, increasing every 10 after 30, because from 0 to 30 is almost at a whisper volume. So none of those are harmful. And then anything above 85 will tell the user that you're listening at a dangerous volume and to lower the decibel levels. And if the number given is negative, it will ask them again. And if the number is too high, it will also ask them again with the error checking. So at the very end, once all the if statements are run through and the range is given, it will show the chart of the various levels that give a description and the danger level, letting the user visually see it, not only just with the code and statistics, and then with the button function to go to the next part of the code.
So continue off of Gavin's output. Pretty much this code right here, it takes a while loop and tries to break it down to see exactly if it even is to scale. Again, as we mentioned, the decibel level should have been somewhere in between 1 and 10, and if it isn't, it continues asking for it until it really is. And then it continues with the list of text, whether the research or whether the different commitment levels to tactics to quantitative action. And it is nested and nested for loops. Nested and nested if statements, if else statements, in regards to the commitment levels and the tactics and the quantitative action. And it really makes sure, as you see on the next slide right here, that everything is made sure to make sure that all the letters are put in correctly. If the numbers don't match, then it asks you to spit it out again and to have a different, it's an invalid action item, and to really start over. You could see that at the beginning right here at line 68. But really what it really is, it just has different, there's very many different variables with the action impact ranging from factors of 0.5 to 1 to 1.5 to 2, just depending on the actions and by the user. And again, it spits out the reduction in score depending on that mathematical equation. And again, here's the error check methods right here, making sure that everything is correct and put in by the user. So it's tons of else statements and continuing back to the while loop to make sure that not only is the reduction in score correct, but the new score really is that decibel level calculated at the beginning minus the reduced score. And like we said many times, we have the same forward buttons and backward buttons, and also made sure to have an exit button just in case the user does not want to continue. So that is the feedback function right here. It is also the mitigation strategy that we have for the user to have. And to build off that, we have the use of charts and vectors and just matrices where the user not only continues on with the outputs from the previous functions. As you guys can see, it requires to have an original decibel level and the new score for the decibel level. And pretty much we have the statistical data right here regarding the years until someone may be deaf with different levels in the spectrum. And pretty much it takes different types of for loops and makes vectors out of them depending on the score. And the score essentially really is, as you can see in these two vectors right here, it compromises the slope of the form of the y equals mx plus v equation that we use for the line of fit. So there are different subplots. There are 3 total subplots. Each one corresponds to different things. And as you can see, there's different attributes to it, making it different colors, making it dashed lines, right, straight lines, obviously labeling it with the different labels and the axes and the titles, making sure the grid is on, most important. And as you guys can see, that's the second plot right here with the original reduction. And most important is the variation between the second subplot and the third subplot, because that pretty much it's the most essential visual for the user to see how the change in scope affects affects the time until they are deaf. And it's obviously made sure, the difference is made sure, especially with the legends, because there's one with the old score and the new score. And obviously we continue back to the end of the buttoning expertise. And obviously the only two options left are back to start and exit. So we finish off with that. And with that, we thank you guys for listening. We are the engineers against hearing loss. And we really hope to make an impact in the world in the future, whether through businesses, whether through regular citizens who just have this experience to really use our product for the better of themselves and for the people around them. So we thank you for listening to our program, and we hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.